Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right, let's go. Let's do this. I am Joshua Kemble. Jim Lujan in the chats said, "Hey, I'm watching you and texting you. How is that?" I'm everywhere, Jim. I'm everywhere. I am omnipresent. No, not at all. I was just chatting on Facebook Messenger. We're trying to figure out what our guest is for, or who our guest is for Artcasters, and kind of get that put together and decide whether we're going to talk about existentialism or possibly, what was the other thing? The doom of AI destroying the world. I don't know. Poor Scott is just going to be along for the ride. Although Scott's a deep thinker. Like, don't ever be fooled by Scott. He's a very deep thinker. He's just also interested in things that humans are interested in. Whereas Corey and I get into like the weird academia stuff that can be really boring to other people, but for us it's like really interesting. All right, so anyhow, speaking of boring and yet interesting, we're gonna do some art, and we're gonna work on, Jim said, did you just call me Jin? That would be funny, especially if I were tipsy whilst being like, Jin, let me tell you something about this, Jin. Remind me, Jim, next time we hang out to call you Jin if we're drinking. And like, if we're drinking, I've had a few too many, I'll just start being like, Jin, I gotta tell you something, Jin. This is the best. Okay, anyhow, so we are going to work on page 108 of Not Death But Love, The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, because I have to knock out this and 10 more pages by the end of the month in order to stay on track for my deadline. And I've already extended the deadline, so that's going to happen come hell or high water, which means I will be streaming a lot and working on comics a lot. And when I'm not streaming, I'll be working on comics a lot. So let me now I want to start calling Jim Lujan like Gin Rummy. Hey, Gin Rummy, how's it going? Like, but do it in like a, I don't know. I see, this is where I wish, Jim, you were on here, so you could do your great Churchill impression that I've heard you do, your amazing Winston Churchill, because that would have to be the voice that you say Jim's name as Gin in. It'd be like, we'll fight them on the beaches, Gin, and on the land, and on the swamp. Anyhow, something like that. I can't do a good Churchill. I can't do any good impressions. The one good impression I can do is me doing a bad impression. I can do an impression of that. Okay, so we're going to work on comics. And if you're interested in supporting indie music, you should check out, it's free and streaming everywhere. But if you're like listening to it on Spotify or something like that, make sure you hit follow for Joshua Kemble, and particularly the album that I just released less than half a week ago. And that is called They Don't Care About the Born. And then also, if you want to support indie comics made by human beings, not by robots or AI, then you should pick up Two Stories or Jacob's Apartment. Both are really good slice of life graphic novels aiming to be literary. Aiming. Jim said, Josh, you and your wife have become the Howard Stern and Robin Quivers of art casting. I guess Maya is kind of like the Robin because she's back there. Like, that's actually what's happening. Maya is doing research and just feeding me information while I work. She's in the background just providing all the content. No, actually, my wife is on a tight deadline as usual for kids' books. I don't know which book this is, like number 50 or I don't know. I don't know how many books she's done at this point. She's done so many kids' books. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that something to aspire to as an illustrator, is to be at the point where you have so many books, you don't even know how many you've done? She's like, it's just self-publishing. Yeah, but I mean, still, my wife's done a lot of books. My wife, she's awesome. Anyhow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the let's see here. Let me show you what I got done. It's show and tell, guys. It's show and tell. Let me show you guys and tell you all the things I've been working on. So this is the finished page. This was a beast to shade, but actually went pretty quick for colors. So I'm guessing this next one is going to take no time at all. And you can quote me on that 3 hours from now when I'm still working on it. Because I always say that at the beginning of these streams, and then it'll be like 3 hours later, I'll still be working on it. But anyhow, this is what the finished page for 107 looked like. I wanted to show you guys what the result was of the color. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think it works pretty well. Now we're going to work on shading page 108. And then who knows? Maybe I'll be coloring this on this stream, depending on how fast I go. Or you never know. I might actually be working on this during Artcasters. If not, I'll be working on the next page. Jim said, man, I got a split. I have a meeting, but I will watch the replay. You missed a banana joke, Jim. You said split. You should have done the classic. And I'm never going to forgive you for missing that comedic opportunity of saying, I got to make like a banana and split, you know? So it's underused. You got halfway there. Maybe you were setting me up for the banana split joke. But anyhow, enjoy your meeting, Jim. And if you see this after the fact, you're going to be like, oh, it's like that scene where Jim will be like going to the meeting feeling like good. He's like, man, I'm on fire. I'm so cool. I'm so rad. Oh man, I'm feeling like I'm on a comedic high. I've been like kicking butt on my animations. I'm doing so good in life. And he goes to the meeting and it like goes super well. And he's like, oh man, my life's great. This is the best. And then he watches this on replay and it's like, you missed the banana split joke. And he's like, stupid. I'm so stupid. Like it just ruins his whole day. Right? No. But that would be funny. That would be a funny bit. All right. Anyhow, I gave you guys a very visual, funny comedy right there. Now, instead of just rambling, is this a talking stream? Is this a stream where you come just to hear me talk? No, it's an art stream. And so I am done with talking. Enough talking. Let's put our money where our mouth is and draw this thing. And my wife said no more energy drinks for me. Yeah, I am well rested and yeah. So I'm in a good place this morning, or I should say this afternoon because it's not morning. But you know what? My sleep schedule's all over the place right now. So who cares? It's morning to me. And aren't we all in mourning of our lost childhoods? Oh, I went there. I do think Mai needs to get a mic, though, for when I do these things, because she says a lot of really funny things in the background. Like, even when I was doing that, she's like, oh, no. Oh, my. Like, anyhow, that drives me to make bad jokes. It's the response of my wife's non-impression of it like her being completely unimpressed makes me like, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep not impressing her. Okay. Um, so I got a busy day ahead of me. I think we're gonna do this page. Today's one of my workout days. As nerdy as it is, I've been getting more and more dedicated to exercise, and it's been very cool. And I've been starting to see results where I'm like, I feel better about myself, and I feel better in general. Like I feel a little healthier. I haven't gotten like super sick in a long time, which is kind of cool. I've gotten tired really easily because that just is kind of getting old. But but it's like I haven't gotten sick. Like the whole time I was subbing, thinking about this, like I was subbing, and when you sub like for high schools, it's like most of those classes are almost 40 kids a class, right? And you're talking 6 periods. So what's 6 times 40? Six, so 240 kids a day, and that's 240 possibilities of some sickness passing to you. And yet the whole time that I was subbing, I don't think I got like super super sick, which is crazy. I never had to call out anything like that. So I'm going to attribute that to not just good fortune and good luck, which is probably more realistic, but I'm going to attribute that to the fact that I've been dedicatedly showing up, working out, pushing the weights, man. I don't even know what weight people say. I don't know gym talk. I don't know gym talk. And this isn't gym like the gin that I was talking about before, the gin and tonic. This is gym like a gym, like GYM. Um, Although my buddy who missed the banana split joke and is now probably reeling in the aftermath of realizing the opportunity missed. Paul said, I'll watch if Jim doesn't. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, like, I mean, I actually like that catch. So, like, the second Jim shows up, you're just like, I'm out. Paul Page joining us. If you guys haven't, again, speaking about art made by humans, right? I have this lovely book right here that is a great action detective story. It's amazing. It's called Detective Perez. There's 3 in the series. They're super affordable. They're great, entertaining reads. If you like, detective fiction, you'd like this. If you like stuff like The Wire, you'd dig this. They're just great comics. Like Paul's very talented, and the 3rd one came out recently, and you guys should pick it up. And if you don't have the first 2, you could get probably all 3. And don't quote me on this, but I think it would cost you somewhere around the realm of like under $20 for like all 3. I'm guessing you'd be able to get them all for under $20, which is crazy for 3 graphic novels that exceed 200 pages each, right? And they're great. They're great. They're written, illustrated, and the amazing thing about them too is all of them are done without Paul wearing pants. That's the thing. This is the thing about Paul is he doesn't wear pants. Just want you guys to know that. But only after you get those books, because they're great books. Paul said, will you go on podcasts and pitch my book? Pay me, and I will. I'm just kidding. I'm going to pitch your book for free all the time. I love them. I think they're great books. Um, I still remember the first Detective Perez. When I got that, I was just like, I can't believe how good this is. Like, not that I didn't expect it to be good, but it was like really, really good. And I was like, wow, this is like really good. And I enjoyed those series. What's up? He what?
You didn't expect it to be good?
Well, no, I did expect it to be good. I just didn't. It's like anytime, I don't know, like, I've had that happen with people where I've like given them a copy of my book or something, and they're like, oh, that's like way better. Like, I thought it would be good, but that's better, My compliments falling apart here. Anyhow, point being, I like the book. But my wife did point out that almost sounded like an uncompliment. Where it's like, man, you look really good for once. And it's like, wait, what do you mean for once? Like it's or it's like, wow, that's a great shirt choice. And you're like, thanks. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's so much better than your regular shirts. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. What are you saying? Anyhow, Paul, if I did that, my apologies. Paul said you have done wonders for my sales. I'm sure I got like 2 people interested with my vast network of influence. But no, anything I can do to help sell those books, I'm going to do because I like them. All right, so we have these amazing panels that we're working on, and this should be fun. This should be super fun. This is another thing that's changed in the last few months. I've talked about this like being really inspired as of late. And it's not like I haven't felt inspired before, but I've been like on overdrive inspired as of late. And another change that's happened really recently is, I've done a lot of talk throughout the years of like the idea of enjoying the process and stuff like that. But I don't think I've done a lot of practice of that. Like, I think I've kind of hated the process of cartooning for quite a while because it's crazy. It is a lot of work. But I don't know what's happened in the last year or so, but it's like I've been really enjoying the process. Like, I've kind of accepted that I actually like it. I don't have to pretend to not like it. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. Like that's a newer thing. And I have found it relieving to have cartoonists in the past when I was working who said it's okay to not like it because there are parts of it you're not going to like. That hasn't changed. There's still parts of the process that I'm not like 100% like, oh wow, this is the best thing ever. And it's not like I'm in ecstasy as I'm working on my paintings like some bad James Cameron flick or something where it's like draw me like one of your French girls and that's how art goes. It's not one of those things where it's like, man, I'm just so moved by the muse. I gotta paint the way you look right now. It's nothing like that. Except when I hang out with Paul Pate, then it is like that. Like when Paul and I have hung out, I've been like, Paul, freeze! I need to paint you. I need to capture your beauty, your essence. Actually, that's hilarious. Have you guys ever hung out with an artist who's like that, where they're just talking to you like you're having coffee or something? And they're like, "So what have you been working on?" Well, my projects are. Wait, pause. Don't say anything. You look perfect in this light. Let me capture your visage, your visage. It's got to happen at some point. That's true. That probably does happen to a lot of girls. I couldn't pull that on my wife because she's an artist. She'd just be like, "Dude, what are you talking about, man?" like, yeah. She'd just be like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, you draw people. It's not like some magic thing." And yeah. I guess if you were like with a non-artist, you could maybe pull that and be like, yeah, I just gotta be in touch with the muse all the time, man. I don't know. But when you're with an artist, it's like, yeah, so do I, whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyhow, I've heard that, like, I remember watching an interview with Dave Grohl where he was talking about his daughter's impression of her dad being like a rock star, and that for like years she was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. It's like, but your dad's in a rock band, it's cool. And they're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just gonna play my video games and listen to music I like because yeah, whatever. I don't know. Paul said creepy artist, never. Anyhow, so I do kind of feel like there is a magic though to art, and there is like a muse and stuff like that, and it's okay to like the process is what I'm getting at. Yeah, and to be fair, in Titanic, it was Kate Winslet, you know. So there's that too, where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, maybe. And I mean, you know, when my wife and I were first dating, I did drawings of her and stuff. You know, it's like, you know, I still draw her. You know, I still have her pose for like pictures and stuff for references, but it's just like, it's not like a like I must capture your visage. It's more like, hey, can you like hold your arm out kind of weird because I got to draw this hand and I need to know what it looks like from that angle. It is cool knowing an artist and living with an artist though, because they get it. Like they get that where it's like, oh yeah, yeah, no problem, you know. Or like my wife sometimes will be like slammed with a deadline and be like, oh, I got to make this color correction or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I can hop in there, you know, like I don't know, that's pretty cool. Also, just kind of getting it where it's like, yeah, I've got to pull like a weird all nighter for a deadline, and it's like, not a lot of people are going to understand that. I guess some people might understand that because some people have to work weird jobs where they're just like, yeah, I got to work. You know, like if I think about it, like a nurse or something is probably like got days where it's like, yeah, the hospital is like needing me, and so I'm going to be, you know, not here. I don't know. Anyhow, Paul said I had the naked one-legged French girl experience many years ago. I thought you said days ago. I was like, wow, Paul. Naked French one-legged girl. It was cool. What is that? Is that like is that from? Yeah, now I'm curious about this. You have to get into more detail, but not too much detail to where like this won't be passable by YouTube's algorithm. But that sounds like a wild experience. Wild, just wild, I tell you. Wild. All right. Yeah, so we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this page together. It's going to be a learning experience. We're going to go into it with trepidation as young, naive cartoonists, and we're going to come out of this page having gone through a hero's journey together. Okay? I don't think I'm overselling that at all. I think that's what it feels like to watch these live streams. It's like you're Samwise and Frodo, except you're one person, and we're gonna go through Mordor together. We're all gonna travel, and we're gonna face the Eye of Sauron bravely, and we'll come out with a brand new, amazing page. Nice. And Gaz from Action Activate is in the chats. How's it going, Gaz? How is dad life treating you, my dude? Still think it's rad. I think Gaz would be a rad dad. That's what I think. I think he'd be a rad dad. You know? And then we got Frank saying face the music. Nice. Face the music. Face the music. We also have Paul saying every page is a hero's journey from blank space to masterpiece. Exactly. Exactly. My wife in the background is like, you guys are adorable. Every page is a hero's journey, is what she said in that voice, too. Every page is a hero's journey. I do think it would be fun to have like a lisp kind of, and not a lisp, but like that kind of. What is that called? Like where you? That's just a speech impediment, right? Where you say W's, like marriage. What dreams are made of. What is that called when people do W's? Anyhow, it would be fun for a day to have that, and then I think after that it would be a nightmare, and it'd be tough to be taken seriously. But still, for one day, I want to speak like that with a W in my word. For one day only. I still do need you guys.
Josh, we should have had someone pretend to have the voice of the Princess Bride.
Oh, my wife was saying when we got married, we should have had the person who was, doing the marriage, officiating it, do the Princess Bride voice. That was a missed opportunity. Let's see here. Gaz said, better now that she's in preschool, but still drawing as slow as a sloth, though. Affectation. Or he said that's a lisp. Okay. Interesting. Frank said, next month I'm starting a D&D club at my library. We're trying it out with a one-shot to see if people like it. Heck yeah, dude!
So cute.
Are you gonna GM it? Because, man, if I were in Texas, my dude, on your side of Texas, Frank, I would be at that library rocking D&D with Frank Salazar. Especially if you're GMing. It's like, you'd be such a good GM. That sounds fun. And Frank, holy crap, man, you've got so much cool stuff going on. You just had you just got made like your local chapter head of now I'm gonna blank out on, I know the word too. For like the speaking thing. It's the speech club. Which is a great revered club, and I'm blanking out on the name. And then and now you've got that. You're going to be GM and have your own D&D locally. Dude, that's rad. That's very cool. And that's hard to get going. It's hard to get people to role play with. I used to role play when I was in junior high, and then I have not really had much of a successful role playing after that because it was just too hard to get people together to do it. And then aside from that, like, there's also like, I mean, I like Risk. I like playing Risk a lot. And it's like, dude, playing the actual board game Risk, like, I did get my family to do it. And we might do it again, but man, that's a commitment. You lose like a whole day, like playing Risk. It's anyhow, but to get people in and together and organizing that's a huge deal. Yeah, that's it. Frank said, area director of the Toastmasters. That's right. And that's rad, Frank. So I love the fact that one of the things I've always admired and liked about Frank is if he commits to something, he's going to do it, and he'll do it as best as he can to the best of his ability. And what's cool is just through like hard work, determination, he'll get it done. And that's a really admirable quality, Frank, and it's very cool to see and inspiring. And it's very inspiring. Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking out on Toastmasters too, because that is like there's really not a lot of speech, communities that are about public speaking and stuff, and Toastmasters is like the top of that, the absolute top of that. It's like a national organization, so I should have known that, and my apologies for forgetting the name of it. I should also remember because I think we've made like toast related jokes. I still think it would be funny, Frank, if you went there and what you guys did was not actually like making toasts, like speaking, but it's really you just kind of hang out and like butter toast. You guys like exchange toast recipes and stuff. You're like, man, this powdered toast, that like the way that I make cinnamon to put on powdered toast is like for cinnamon toast is the best. Brown sugar and butter. Have you tried that on your toast? And it's just a whole hour or two of people just discussing toast, maybe sharing. A heretic comes in and brings like crumpets, and they're like, "You're out of here. You're out of here. This is Toastmasters, not Crumpet Masters. Who do you think you are coming in here without toast?" Paul was saying I love French toast. I love French toast too. I think French toast is one of.
You love French toast. Do you like one-legged French toast?
Oh, that's my wife. See, we got to get her a mic. I don't know if you could hear that, but she said, speaking of French toast, what about one-legged French toast, huh? She pulled it back to the earlier thing. Comedic genius back here. Frank said, my birthday is next week. Wow, your birthday is really close to my wife's. My wife.
Birthday is tomorrow.
Yeah, her birthday is tomorrow.
We're gonna have one-legged French toast.
Now she just can't get over the one-legged French toast thing. She's like, we'll have one-legged French toast. Frank said, draw me like one of your French toasts. Draw me like one of your French toasts. Oh my gosh, that has to be done now as a comic.
Someone has to draw like a sexy French toast.
It's a sexy French toast who's talking to another French toast and is saying, draw me like one of your French toasts. That's hilarious. That's great. Frank, that was the best bit I've heard in a while. Always, like, Frank has such a keen sense of humor. If you guys aren't subscribed to Frank's channels, you should be checking out Roll for Tarako, which is his role-playing one. And then you should also check out the Tarako Creative Cast. And then what's the other... It's just Frank Salazar Art Nation. You should be following all three of those. They're great on YouTube. But Action Activate too is great. If you want to follow Gaz and check out his stuff, especially if you're into kaiju or Power Rangers. Action Activate. If not, Gazbot on YouTube is a good way to follow as well. Support their stuff. And now what I'm going to do is, yeah, Frank was saying, it's a beautiful loaf of bread, asking her artist boyfriend that draws sexy French toasts. That's it. And maybe he's like a bagel or something, you know? He's just like because he's not going to be French toast. Okay. So that needs to happen. See, you watch this stream, you have one panel strip ideas. Boom. Like nobody's business. You could be making money off these ideas here that we're giving here. All right, hickory dickory dock. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm gonna play a trailer. I'm gonna play a trailer here. So speaking of, we were just talking about Frank. Here is Frank's adventures at the library. I'll be right back. Congrats, Frank, again, on getting a D&D group locally going. That's amazing. That just sounds super fun. And I really am envious of people who live in your area because I know, just knowing Frank Salazar, that would be the most fun GM'd game you've ever played. All right. Here is Frank's adventures at the library to give you a sampling of what the GM experience might be like.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice.
We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Krembo.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble?
Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide.
You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
I still imagine him getting the books and then being really disappointed because he didn't get a glove. He's like, man, I wanted the glove. All right. You have made your choice. The passage is now clear. All right. So we're going to continue this wild seance scene in which they are speaking to the fruits of the devil. Do you remember So I Married an Axe Murderer, Mai? Yeah. Anyhow, there's one scene where he says, she's evil like the fruits of the devil. Instead of druids. It's great. Anyhow. All right. Yeah, I would love to see that again, actually. That was a great movie. All right. We are on panel 2. And you know what's neat? Unlike most of these pages, where I feel like I'm a masochist, because I'm like, oh, I'll do, 10 panels on this page. That's not going to take forever to draw 10 panels on this page. This one has 3 panels. So it's starting to feel like an illustration gig. I only have to do 3 drawings. That's it. All right. Let's make it happen. Captain. Yeah. Anyhow, it doesn't really make it go quicker. Usually less or more panels. But I do think, at least for coloring, this will go a little bit quicker, depending. Do you know that's actually the response that older people make all the time? It's like, oh, do you need to, for us to like stop? We're on a long trip. Do you need to stop to go to the restroom? And they're like, it depends. Oh, we're all going to be there. We're all going to be there. Don't worry. Don't worry. No disrespect to the senior citizens. Citizens. I'm tired, man. I've been up late. My wife is talking to me a lot during the stream, which is great. I wish she were mic'd so you guys could hear it. It's very funny. She's on fire comedically, Becky. And then, yeah, she screams, I'm on fire. I'm actually on fire. Exactly. You're on fire comedically. No, really, I'm on fire. Oh, man. Today is too funny. How are you guys doing who are watching this? What are you guys up to this lovely Thursday? It's Thursday, which means Artcast tonight. Very excited about that. Hanging out with my buddy Scott Cirkland and aka Circ22 on Artcasters tonight. There's a potential that Jim Lujan may show up. He might make a drive-by appearance. Really, like what Jim will do is like show up, flash his gang sign, and then disappear. Okay, let's see here. I mean, Jim and I are part of a secret gang called the J Boys. I don't know if we've told you about this. We're notorious throughout the land. J Boys. And it's spelled with a Z, by the way, just if you want to do that correctly. Okay. What do we got? What do we got here? What do we have to deal with on this page? What's the new challenge? Paul said, I haven't drawn anything in a couple of weeks, Josh. I don't know how I feel about it. Interesting. Well, I feel like you just finished a marathon, so it's kind of okay to chill. Gaz was saying, why aren't you at work? So, like, what I've been doing for the day job is subbing lately. And during the summer, there's no subbing gigs. So I'm just freelancing and then working on my comics. That's basically it. And where I'm at for freelance, I have a couple jobs, but both of them are pending feedback from the client. So caught up on those. So it's just kind of chilling. Invoices sent, need approval. The second I get approval, I'll be working on those as well. Gaz said logical. Yeah. But it's pretty chill. I've actually been enjoying it more than the gig before, the art directing gig, which is a testament to how much I didn't like that job. I didn't mind it. It was interesting. It was a good experience. It's just I was ready to move somewhere else, move on to something else. And I know like my mental and physical health has vastly improved since making that transition. So not a bad thing. Financially not as lucrative, but it's not all about money. Let's see here. We have, Gaz was saying great news all around. Then I dig it. Okay, so we have to finish this page. I feel like, I can empathize with that though, Paul, like, because anytime I finish like a big book, I usually have this moment of like, then I'll just not draw for a while. And then like, it's like starts eating at you. Cause like I was saying on the previous streams, it's like, I kind of think that, that like creatives are just gonna do it. Like there's no way, if you're kind of designed to do this thing, there's just no way you can like you can't let it die. You can't quit on it. Don't quit on me. It's like that, but with art, where it's like, I can't quit you. I can't quit you, comic books. And then the next thing you know, you're painting French toast, That's the way it is being a creative. Yeah, Paul was saying I'm feeling a little lost. Yeah, it's I thought Gary's talked about this a lot too. Where there's almost like this weird, almost like there's an elation at the moment of finishing a project, and it doesn't last very long. It's like very brief. At least for me, it's like usually when I get the book, when I get the printed book, I have like one moment of like, this is pretty cool. I feel pretty good. And then it's gone. And it's like, after that, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know what you're doing with yourself when you've finished a big project. Like it, especially if you don't have one lined up, because it's like, wow, that's, like right now, if I finish a project, like if I finish this, I'm like, sweet, I have time to do 2 stories, book 2, because that's what I need to do. I need to make the second part of that book. But it's like if I didn't have a 2 stories book 2 like lingering or another project, I'd probably be like pretty, yeah, I'd have a definite moment of like crisis, because like, not that, like, Paul, you're a creative, so you probably have like a million things you'd like to work on, but it's like now you have to pick, and that's like a weird space to be in when you're in the comfort of the process. Because the process, it's funny, I used to hate it, but I'm starting to realize this is the part that it's all about. It's fun to work on this stuff. And so to like have that thing to do every day is a good feeling. Like it's a weight, but it's like a daily exercise or something. So it's like the second you've accomplished that big task, there's almost like a morning. Yeah, Maya actually had a good point. She said, Paul, you should just go to like a cafe and draw for a bit. Just enjoy drawing for a, just like bring a sketchbook and chill in a cafe and draw. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Because how many times would you have liked to do that when you were working on Detective Perez, where you're like, man, I feel like drawing today, but I don't feel like working on this same project. Enjoy that ability to just... Paul was saying, I'm realizing having that thing to do is the key. Yeah, it's a weird thing, but it's like, it's very meaningful. I've started realizing that's kind of why I like making music. I like the end result, and it's nice to have cool music, but the process of just the challenge to like make a song is really fun. It's a headache, but it's really fun, And I think there is something nice about being in that space and something healthy about it, because I think we're designed to do that. I think we're designed to make stuff. So I think if we're not, it's just going to feel like you're not, I don't know, but we aren't what we make, right? Like if tomorrow, a good question to ask yourself, that's like an existential question or whatever, is like, if I lost the ability to draw today, would I still be okay? And if you wouldn't, you might be too attached to this thing. However, I'm saying that, and yet I still don't have a really solid answer of what I would do. If I had a month or two where I lost the ability to play guitar, and that was heartbreaking. It was weird, because that's something I really enjoy. And there was a good month where, and this will happen when you're in creative fields. I had the hand injury that happens to a lot of cartoonists. But this one was on like the ball joint of my, I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of like a ball joint right here of my thumb. And so I wasn't able to like push my thumb on anything on this hand, which, by the way, when you're playing guitar, this thumb is everything. Because if you can't hold chords or notes if you can't pinch, because basically all you're doing is you have a neck, your thumb's there, and then your thumb's like holding the whole thing together. And it's like you don't even realize, because you don't really, there's not a lot of thumb work in playing guitar, so like you wouldn't think the thumb is that important. But the second this is taken out, like whatever you're doing here doesn't matter, because there's nothing to resist against in the back. So yeah, I wasn't able to like hold a chord and then finally got like a cortisone shot right here, which is like this giant needle about that long. They shove it in there and put like weird stuff that makes your skin bubble. At least it made my skin bubble. It like made little bubbles in there. And then eventually that kind of gets in there, and then now it's like functional again, so I can kind of use it. Although I have to really be careful. with, exercising. And that's another reason why I've been more consistent with exercise. But yeah, but anyhow, that was really scary for like a couple months. I couldn't, I could pick up a guitar and maybe play like an E minor like once. And then I'd be like, it was just like shooting pain to the point where it just wasn't possible. So that's a possibility for all of us, is that like, making art could get to that point where it's just not, a thing. And that's awfully scary. So I'm not saying that like I have everything all worked out to where if I lost that ability, I would know what to do with myself. It's probably my worst nightmare, would be that happening. But my point is that we have more in our identity than just being artists. However, we should also embrace the fact that it is a big part of our identity, and we need to create. And like, if you're not creating and you're a creative, you're lining yourself up for sadness. Because the times in my life where I haven't been working on stuff, which isn't a lot, but anytime I find myself in a rut where I'm not working on my art, like that's a big problem. Like that's like a big signal that something's not right, because it's like, it's just such a part of what I enjoy doing. It's like a lot of people, envision like, I'm going to go on this great trip, this great adventure. And I like trips and adventures and stuff like that. But like, to me, I envision a lot of stuff like, wow, then I could play music, or I could make art, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of my favorite things is those things. So like, to have that taken away would be really sad. Almost like it would be almost equivalent to if you're somebody who like all you live for is travel, and then your ability to travel is taken away. I guess, I don't know if that makes sense. Gaz said, I've always enjoyed making music and almost never enjoyed drawing. I think because I don't consider myself a musician, so there's no pressure. That might be it. That might be why I like music so much. Because music doesn't feel as intense as making art. Although lately making art's been a lot more free. I don't know. But I agree with you, Gaz. I think I've thought about that too. I don't consider myself like a good musician. I'm okay, and I can write stuff and it's fun. But that's the thing, it's fun. I don't take it much more than that. And it's a form of expression for sure, but it's not I kind of agree with you, Gaz. I wonder if that has something to do with why I like music so much. It's like an art form that I'm not as invested in financially, and I don't know. It's interesting. And he said, music is harder to criticize in an objective way. Anyone can say that hand looks wrong. That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. Yeah. But it depends, right? Because if you're doing abstract art, it becomes a little more abstract in the criticism. And similarly, like if you were doing classical music, if you're playing like classical guitar, oh man, like to a classical guitarist, it's funny because I come from, rock and roll roots. So it's like, hey, you mess up a chord live, you just play it off like you meant it and you keep going, but in the classical music world, like I've seen like classical recitals where like a classical guitarist is playing like a thing and they hit one off note and the whole it's like the destruction. It's like a bomb went off. Like, it's just like, oh my goodness, he just ruined his whole song with one bad note. And it's like, it's kind of bizarre, but it's like, it can be like that. But that's a good point. Like, Gaz is saying, I guess I'm trying to do representative art. Yeah, same here. I think that's kind of what it comes down to. But it's interesting. It's funny. I feel that dichotomy too, where music is way more fluid and just kind of primal, and drawing is not. Paul said, "I listened to your album. I enjoyed it. It was good. Thank you. Thanks. I got another one coming. There's another one coming." And the next one's going to be just trashing workplaces, just talking badly about bad workplaces. Yeah, that's right. I'm coming for you, bad workplaces. Wherever you are, you're on notice. All right. I just thought it would be a fun theme because who doesn't hate bad workplaces? You know what I mean? All right. I want to have some light here. Like, I want the light to be more clearly defined than it is. Like, it's not bad, it's passable, but I feel like I want it to be kind of highlighting the planes a little more of the face. And I think what I'll do is we'll do that. Just kind of get in there slightly more. Maybe here's a little more out of the light. And then I think just a little bit here, but not a lot. But yeah, I do wonder why that is. I definitely feel that exact same thing, Gaz. Paul said, "Bring it on." Sounds good. I'll play some snippets of that. I've been doing it on live streams, but it wouldn't hurt to play the raw unmastered ones. I have about 5. Actually, I have about 5.5 tracked. I can't play the 6th yet because I'm still tracking vocals for it, but I have the 6th that all the music's done for it. But I do have 5 that I haven't released that maybe I'll play in a few. And then he was asking if the shelf above her is falling. No, but like I kind of cheated the perspective on this. So my goal is to kind of fix it with shadows. That's kind of the goal. Because I wanted to have that kind of angle. And it's kind of an impossible angle. So I'm going to try to make it work with the goals. I mean, not with the goals, with the shadows. And I think it will. I think it will, in theory. Because I want it to kind of feel like this crazy, like, supernatural moment. So I didn't want it to be too bound in real perspective, even though it is, actually happening. I wanted it more kind of mystical. So a lot of this back here, I think, is going to be mostly shadow, and similarly back here. So most of what we're going to see is in this circle. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, but we'll see. We'll see if it's successful or not. Any of this stuff can be a failure, but that was at least the thinking behind it. Okay, so I do need to take another real quick break. What time is it? Okay, we're at the hour mark. That would explain why. So what I'll do is I'll finish this arm. I just thought of a really bad joke. Because anytime I say arm, I think of Smashing Pumpkins. The disarm me with a smile or whatever. And I was just realizing it would be really disturbing and funny to have like an animation where somebody's listening to that part of Smashing Pumpkins and then they just rip off a stick figure's arms and they're smiling. Maybe? No? I don't know, guys. I'm here all day. I'm trying here with stupid bits, but I thought that would be funny. Gaz said taking off. Keep rocking, Josh. Thanks. Have a good one, Gaz. Paul said, looks great. Bit of a departure with 3 frames. Yeah, it's more of a still moment. Okay. We're going to get there. I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for let's play the original, the OG Jacob's Apartment trailer. I'll be right back. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing things. I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. All right, we're back at it. We're back at kind of shading this page and making it work. So a lot of this is going to be much more kind of ambient than a lot of the other pages. I don't know if that makes sense. But I want there to be a really strong light being cast by that candle. So how are you guys doing? So Paul, I think that idea that my had was actually pretty good, which was just like, yeah, just go draw at a cafe or something, or get into the next book. But I don't know. Sometimes those times can be really valuable. You know, Corey's talked about that quite a bit, where there's a lot of value to boredom. Because, like, you know, if you think about the origins of how a lot of us started drawing, it's like, maybe you were bored with a piece of paper, you know, and you've got a pencil, and suddenly you like start thinking about things to draw, and it becomes this like really cool like world you're building, you know. That can be a really cool place to be. But I also feel like, I don't know, do you have another Detective Perez in mind? I don't know if you feel like I feel like you might need a shorter project just before you take on another Detective Perez. But the fan in me wants you to just do another Detective Perez. That would be incredible. But I feel like after finishing something like that, maybe something with a quick win or another animated project might be really cool. Man, that Samurai Tie animation you made in like the dystopian future, that was unbelievable how good that was. Unbelievable. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? Tone that back a little bit. This is going to be like real dark back here. And I'm just trying to get my main figures, and then we'll get the backgrounds and kind of work it a little more, just to kind of make the light and shadow work. Like, I feel like up here, this part needs to be kind of hitting less light. Paul was saying short stuff for sure. Yeah. But I think, like, yeah, it's the Detective Perez books are such like massive undertakings. To jump into another immediately might not be a good idea. It depends, though, like if you're feeling momentum and inspiration for it, But yeah, the whole balance with this is like, how do we maintain doing this thing we love without burning ourselves out, and that's always going to be a juggle. So again, on this stream, we're just going to finish up the shading for this page, and then I will probably work on the color during the art casters, depending on how quickly this all goes. But there will be art casters. I think it's on Corey's channel tonight, Corey Kerrs. So if you're not following Corey Kerr on YouTube, make sure you are. You should be following Corey Kerr. I don't know if you guys have been following his novel. He's been doing these videos called Scenes from a Non-Existent Book. And he's writing this extremely wacky and amazing story about if time started failing to function. And then it gets really complex from there. But it's like a really interesting, like Terry Pratchett style, Douglas Adams-y dystopian story that I really dig. And it's coming along really cool. And he's writing it, and kind of streaming chapters as he goes, which is pretty good. So I'm already pretty hooked on the story, but you guys should be subscribed to his channel for that anyway. But also because Artcasters will be on his channel tonight. But it's pretty wild. Just wild. That story is wild. Just wild. Paul said Corey's story is wicked cool. Yeah, 100%. Let's have the light having a little more effect here. All right. And we're just, this is like a long, tedious process, this whole thing, but I think it'll work. Paul said, what time is Artcasters tonight? Well, so I'm in Pacific time, so it's at 8 p.m. Pacific. 8 p.m. All right. Let's do this. Right here. We'll add this. And if you guys want and don't mind, I'll play some of my unreleased tracks. So I have a full album of released, fully mastered tracks called They Don't Care About the Born that just came out, which you guys should listen to on whatever streaming platform you listen to music. Whatever streaming platform that is, follow it, or, so that you can, help the album reach other people. And then what I'm going to play now is all of the demo stuff that I've been working on for the next album. Recording gradually. I'll probably finish like the 6th song maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. But so far I have 5 tracks, and I'm going to probably release something again once I have 10, and once I have the masters of it. But none of these are mastered. These are just raw mixes. So they're like demo tracks. But I will play them for you guys. So here, this is all from the album that I'm currently working on that's basically about bad workplaces. So here is track 1 from that. All right, so that was a song about, the kind of people that, play nice in a workplace, but everybody who works there knows they're horrible. It's like, yeah. So I think everybody kind of knows that experience where it's like there's somebody, probably where you've worked or where, at places you've worked in the past where you're just like, how does this person have this job? But like, and everybody understands they're like awful, but they, for some reason, just keep them around. Anyhow, so that's what that's about, is like people who create toxic environments that for some reason just cannot not be there, even though everyone knows they're awful. And about like hopefully karma getting those types of people. So that's what that song is about. Let's see here. What is this? Oh, Paul said gotta run. Hopefully see you tonight. Awesome. See you tonight. Now we're going to play track 2, and we'll just continue creating art and making this page happen.
Called to tell you of a time where I lost all care. Started hearing voices that weren't even there. Started seeing cameras monitoring me. Thought I was on some total breakdown. Don't trust anything they say. They're recording your every move to you someday. Don't trust anything they do. Anything that you say could be used against you. They're watching you. Collapse of my rational faculties. Nervous breakdown from overthinking things. Who do you trust if you can't trust your mind? Stepping ahead just to fall back behind. Push you to the brink, keeping you on the grind. So you have a total breakdown. Put me in an institution for the mind to correct my thinking about the daily grind. Had to sign some papers, sign away my rights. And then the place that drove me deep into this state felt the weight of balancing my whole world. Lost my grip as reality unfurled. A total breakdown. Don't trust anything they say. They're recording your every move to you someday. Don't trust anything they do. Anything that you say could be used against you. They're watching you. Collapse of my rational faculties. Nervous breakdown from overthinking things. Who do you trust if you can't trust your mind? Stepping ahead just to fall back behind. Push you to the brink, keeping you on the grind. So you have a total breakdown.
All right, so that was another song. You know what I was going to mention that I just read, and I'm curious what you guys think about it. Have you guys heard of the politician Kristi Noem? It's like there's this Republican candidate who was a hardcore contender for VP, and was potentially going to run with Trump, and was, I think, at points like the front runner that might be running with Trump as like the VP. And they wrote a they wrote an autobiographical book in which they basically talked about having this dog that had behavioral issues. And the lady, this Kristi Noem lady, she's running, keep in mind, she's running for office in the US where people generally, like, regardless of political stripes, like, I would consider the US a place that likes pets. Like, we like our pets, we like our dogs, right? We like our you know, there's some jerks out there, but I think that's something that kind of transcends party lines, is that people tend to think dogs are kind of cute and shouldn't be harmed. Anyhow, so she writes this book in which they had this dog that had some behavioral issues, because she's like this lady who lives on a farm or something. And so they put the dog in her truck, and she brought it out in a field, and then proceeded to murder her dog, like just shoot it, kill it. And she kills it, shoots it quite a few times. And then she talks about being really proud and excited about this, thing that she's doing, which is the right thing to do, which is to put down this dog because it's just not been sitting when they're asking it to sit and things like that. Like, I don't even think it was an aggressive dog. So she writes this in her book, and then not only that, like then when she's on her drive back, she's on her drive back from shooting the dog, and she's still got some bullets in the chamber. And so she decides they have a goat that's been eating things it shouldn't on their farm. So when she comes back, she decides to cap off the goat too. And she wrote this while running as a contender for a VP candidate. And so that's all over the news now. It's like there's this lady who kills dogs. It's like the worst branding ever politically. It's basically like anywhere she goes now, she's a dog murderer. She's the person who kills dogs and pets and defenseless animals. Not a great look, even for people who like have no scruples politically. I think that's a hard one to overcome. Like optically, I just don't think she's going to have much of a political career now. Anyhow, so that was interesting. I read about that this morning and I was like, wow, that's wild. That is wild. Like that's actually beyond anything I've read politically. I don't think I've read of anyone doing something so politically suicidal as writing in graphic detail about shooting a dog that was a household pet just because it wasn't like behaving like, but it wasn't like a hostile dog. It wasn't like a aggressive dog. It was just a dog that like, man, they tried to teach it to sit and it just wouldn't. So the only solution is to just cap the dog off. Anyhow, that was interesting. That was wild. I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I'm just rambling about stuff that, but that was a wild one. So anyhow, that's a wild thing. Wild, just wild. All right, so we're almost there. We're getting through this page. I don't think it's going to take much longer because I think she's probably the most complicated thing on this page is getting her correct. Because I think even the other pose isn't quite as challenging or hit by light as this. What's up, Mai?
Very upsetting, dude.
Yeah, it was kind of upsetting, but it's also hilarious because again, like the candidate's been like getting tons of heat, like from like the right and the left, justifiably, right? Because you probably just shouldn't go around just shooting dogs for no reason. Like that's not being like a responsible gun owner, you know. Even if you're like pro gun, it's like that's just kind of dumb. It, you know. That doesn't even fit like old Yeller level like stuff where it's like, oh, this dog's got rabies or what, you know, like there's some times where like maybe that would be forgivable, but like it in her own book, she just basically passes on any opportunity to make it at all relatable. And it's just like, yeah, I shot my dog and it had it coming. And then I went home and shot my goat. And it's like, but why? Like, were they sick? Like, what was the point? And it's like one of those, yeah, so she's been getting heat from like the left and the right on that. Because again, you know, if there's one thing that I think most Americans can unite about, it's like, even hunters aren't for that. Like, most people I know who hunt animals, it's like, they hate people who go trick hunting. right? Like most guys I've known in my life that actually hunt, like, they're gonna kill an animal. They do it to get the meat and actually eat it. Like they're not, just kind of going out there and like using animals as target practice. And those guys would look at people who would go out there and use animals as target practices like just severely horrible people. Like even people who are like really into hunting would view that as just like wasteful and disgusting, right? And so I think that's the thing that's funny about this story is the this candidate, she's not like this is not just hurt her with the left, it's hurt her with the right as well, because like if there's anything, as divided as our country is, as divided as we all are on a million issues, if there's anything I think the majority of Americans can agree with, it's like when you have a pet, not that pet not sitting when you ask it to sit is not a good reason to just kill a dog. And not just any pet, a dog, like the most loved pet in the entire United States. It's just, so there's no quicker way to commit political suicide than killing a dog. Like you killed a dog. It wasn't in self-defense. It wasn't because it was like a vicious dog that was like biting and attacking people. It was just, you just shot a dog. And then not only that, as if that wasn't enough, you went home and decided to cap off a goat as well. Just because you were on like a murder spree. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not like, I'm not a wacky animal rights person. But I feel like that's a pretty common thread. Like most Americans can get behind is like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like, yeah, I don't think I want that person in charge of anything. I don't. I don't think I want to have anyone that's just randomly shooting animals. Like, that's an early sign of psychopathy, is like people who torture animals and stuff. So it's like, and here's this person writing an autobiography about what a good American they are. I think in this chapter it was supposed to be like, look what a great American gun owner I am. And it's like, I think even the gun owners read that and were like, yeah, I mean, no, no, that's not what we're trying to get here. We're not trying to just randomly, arbitrarily shoot animals. Like, no. Anyhow, it's tragic and it's horrifying that she would do that. But at the same time, it's hilarious that for some reason, this person was like, yeah, that would be a good idea to put in my autobiography to try to gain support for the VP candidacy. But who knows? Again, like that might just be my read. The way things have gone the last few years, she very well might be the VP candidate. I don't know, but from what I've been seeing, it doesn't seem like. Again, I think that's something that the country's pretty united on. Is like, yeah, it's probably not good to like go around shooting dogs for no reason. That's just, generally probably not a good idea. Yeah. Anyhow, so there you go. That was an interesting thing I read this morning. I don't know what you guys take from that, but I thought it was funny. Maybe I was missing some of the information too. Maybe it's like maybe there's a more justifiable reason. I can't think of one, but maybe there is one that I just didn't read. Yeah, I mean, maybe she was in fear for her life or something, but yeah, it doesn't. From what I read about it, it doesn't sound like it. I drove the dog out to the middle of the desert because I was in fear for my life. Like that doesn't quite work. Anyhow, yeah, that was a funny one. Anyhow, I mean, it wasn't funny what happened to that dog. It's just funny that somebody who's trying to be taken seriously politically would like out themselves for that in a book. Like it's a weird one. Yeah, Pepsi said, but if it doesn't sit, what else can you do? Harsh. All right. I'm going to get this done. But right now I'm going to get a little more coffee. So I'm going to put the trailer on for... let's put on... You know what? I was just on Chris's show on Monday. So I'm going to put on Christopher Runciman's review. And I'll be right back.
Hi, my name's Chris and I like comics. I want to talk about this comic for a second here. I just got this in. I ordered it direct from my local comic shop through Diamond Distributing. It's Joshua Kemble's Jacob's Apartment. I really enjoyed this book. There's all kinds of comics out there, let's be honest. There's fun comics, there's superhero comics, there's young adult comics, there's adventure comics for kids. There's so many different things on the planet. But there's also an entire subgenre of alternative books. Real life, real world depictions in comic book form. Situations that happen to each and every one of us. And this is a fine example of that. If you get a chance, order this book from your local comic shop. You won't be disappointed. I can't sing its praises high enough. Okay? Check it out. Jacob's Apartment by Joshua Kemble.
All right, guys. How are you doing? What are you working on? Love to hear it. It is midday on a Thursday. There is an Artcasters tonight, which I believe is going to be like a roundtable conversation with me, Corey Kerr, and Scott Cirkland. Potentially might be joined by a drive-by by Jim Lujan. I actually kind of like that not being separated from the background. Is that weird? I don't know. I tend to like try to backlight everything, but I actually kind of like that that's like fading into the background. I'm going to think on that for a little bit, but that would be potentially really cool. And that's kind of why I was like cheating the perspective a little bit on this, was for that kind of effect in mind. That might be cool. Let's see what happens with that. I gotta erase it. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. Maybe there will be a little bit of reflected light. No, you know what? I'm going to fight the reflected light and see what happens here. Although I might pull it back a little bit so that we're seeing just a little bit more of the hair here, you know. But I think I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Pepsi said the page looks really nice so far. Thank you. Out of curiosity, Pepsi, why'd you pick Pepsi as your name, as your username? I haven't asked you that yet. I'm curious. Maybe you're asked that all the time. Maybe you are the Pepsi Corporation, and you're just monitoring me and waiting for me to infringe on your copyright. And you're like, ha ha ha, gotcha, sucker. I don't know when I would infringe on that, you know. You know what came close to infringing on that? I don't know if you guys remember, but when Obama was running, do you remember the rebrand, like his logo? It was so close to the Pepsi logo. It was like absurdly close to the Pepsi logo. It was kind of like a big deal at the time. And I think the guy who designed and worked for the Obama campaign was actually one of the graphic designers that used to hang out back in the Threadless days when I was doing Threadless. He was an alumni, a Threadless alumni. Nice. Pepsi said, ha ha ha, your guess is too accurate. I'm awaiting my copyright moment to strike. I knew it. Pepsi's just lurking. There's like a Pepsi Cola in every chat who works for the Pepsi Corporation, and they're just waiting for somebody to be like, man, I love Pepsi. It's like, how dare you say that, sir? How dare you? Do you have a sponsorship with us? You have no right. Anyhow, all right. So what do we have here? We have this going. All right. We've got a little bit here. But anyhow, so here's a suggestion. I am no political scientist, right? I've taught civics, I've taught US history, I've taught world history, but I am not an expert at all. I'm not even a history major, right? But my guess is Poli-Sci 101 would be don't write about shooting dogs in your autobiography if you're running as a candidate in the United States for anything. Just a good beginner tip on political thinking. I know we're in like a post-politics world where you can practically say anything and get elected to office, but I think that one still pretty much holds. Like, I think that one might even go back to like the Middle Ages, as like a piece of advice, for political people. You know, is just don't openly talk about. I mean, you know, better yet, maybe just don't murder dogs. Just a tip, you know, just wild one. You know, we could all start there. Pepsi said, if I use a red, white, and blue heart in the chat, then our lawyers parachute from helicopters to serve paperwork. I like that. Got the dogs. Dogs are worked up about some mail. Wild, just wild. You guys didn't realize you were going to get a chorus of dogs. For those of you who didn't realize it, congratulations. You just got a special surprise. Okay. We're going to have the shadow cast from her here. And that's going to get dark too. This is a darkness book. This is a gothic book of darkness. A book of pure evil and darkness. Okay, so we are getting there. Our vicious guard dogs were at it again. Okay, so here we go. We've got this going. And I think that'll kind of create the, yeah, that's kind of working pretty well. I'm digging it. Okay, so there's a couple things that I'm going to need to do here. I want to do the other character, but I also want to do this candle. So I think it'll be fun to do that. Pepsi said, thank you for not shooting them live on stream. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a good point. If I were running for VP, you know, in the Trump administration, maybe that would be a benefit. I don't know. It's like, how dare you dogs bark and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's funny because I'm from an area that's a pretty red area where, you know, a lot of people in my district are very like pro gun ownership and stuff like that. And so I grew up like going to shooting ranges and stuff like that. And it you know, I've become since like not a very big gun guy, but I've known gun guys. I grew up around gun guys. Like my dad was a, you know, gun dude. And I've never met a gun guy who was like, yeah, you should shoot dogs. That's great. Like I've just never ever in my life experienced that one. Yeah. In fact, a lot of hunters like rely on dogs because dogs are really great like tools to go hunting with. Like they'll help you hunt. Anyhow, whatever. I'm just saying that's a wild one. Yeah, if the dog, like Mai was saying, if you're on a farm and like there's a sick animal or something, you know, that like you have to kind of put them out of their misery. But again, the way it was written in the book, it's like every potential explanation that could kind of like even soften it a little bit was like not only ruined, but it's also mentioning, and then I shot that darned annoying goat. Then it's like, wait, really? You're just going on a shooting rampage? Just, okay. Yeah, it's like she was one step away from being like, and then I went to my neighbor's house and took them out too. Because yeah, it's like then my husband was on my nerves, so then I did that. Anyhow, yeah, it was a funny one. I mean, not funny, but just funny that
That's how I solved my problem.
the lack of awareness that like most Americans aren't going to be on board with that. Even the wild ones are still like, yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah.
You can't even train a dog to sit. That's pretty pathetic.
Pepsi was saying, I love the subtle escalation. Exactly. It just kind of starts with the, well, you know, the dog just had to learn to behave. So the kids next door just had to learn to behave. It just keeps getting worse and worse. Anyhow, okay, so we have our candle here. I want to like a candle in the wind. That's right. That was for you guys. Okay, so we've got our candle getting worked out here. Pepsi's like, it just escalates till finally it's like, and that's why the whole neighborhood had to go.
Slowly, she's like holding a flamethrower.
Yeah, she's just got like a, you know, she's basically like nuked her entire town, and she's like, and that's why you should vote for me for vice president. I don't know why suddenly that's her accent. I'm guessing that's her accent. You just,
Otherwise, she'll come and kill you.
yeah, she's like a gun-toting Karen, you know? She's like, could I speak to your manager, please? I need to talk to you about this dog you sold me 15 years ago. Dunn wouldn't have had to shoot that dog in the face if I had a behaving dog. Could I please speak to the person in charge here? Okay. Merge visible.
Do you have any goats? You don't mind?
Bouffant and all, hopefully. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Woman needs to watch Babe.
That's true. She should watch Babe. Learn how to care about her animals. That was a great movie, Babe. You guys remember that movie? It was a good movie. It was a touching, incredible movie. And I think it came out like, am I crazy? I feel like that came out around the same time as Forrest Gump. Like, I feel like Forrest Gump came out and then Babe was like not too far after it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just grouping those years together. But I feel like there was Big Fish came out a little bit after. Like, there was a slew of like really meaningful, very creative movies. That it's sort of surprising got greenlit by Hollywood, and also surprising they were such like huge hits. You know, like if you think about like Forrest Gump as a movie, like how did that thing get through? You know, yeah, because nowadays it's like what basically you'll get greenlit is like a Marvel film. It'll be like superheroes, capes and tights, Is it a very wild action film? Then yes, we'll greenlight it. But it's like I'm not sure if there's a lot of like just. Then again, also things are all about streaming now, so those kind of more meaningful like box office smashes might be just kind of real big hits on streaming or something. I don't know, because there is like more media than ever, and I do feel like there's a lot of options. It's not like we're like limited to what's being curated by like 2 TV stations until the algorithm takes over and AI starts generating, custom made, thought sourced entertainment. So we can just like turn on our feedback loop and just watch whatever it is that that our algorithm feeds us. Okay, we're getting there, guys. We have a candle. We have the left half of this going, and I think what I'll do now is I'm just going to go ahead and finish the left side of the equation here. Tough man is still a grumpy spy. 7. I actually would totally watch a movie called Tough Man is Still a Grumpy Spy. That's a great name. Even just a movie. I wonder, there's got to be one that already has that title, but that's a hilarious title for a character. Tough Man. That's great. Anyhow, I like that title. Grumpy Spy would be a great character. I tried to retire. That is kind of the new spy movie is that. Like it was like really cool when it was you basically had Keanu Reeves kind of doing this one where it's kind of funny and it's tongue in cheek and it's like, yeah, you killed my dog, Again, this is the reason the political calculus of that lady is insane. John Wick, like, okay, is a insanely violent movie that is one of the most popular movies in America, right? And what was the impetus for John Wick going on a brutal murder spree of all of his enemies? What justified that to the American public? It was that somebody killed his dog, okay? And that was enough for all of America to get behind a man just arming up and just mowing people down in retaliation because they killed his dog. That's how much Americans like their dogs, okay? It's just a bad political calculation to forget John Wick, Pepsi said, submitting my copyright. Thank you. Anyhow, so that's the whole point of John Wick, and that's like the fun of that movie too. It's like, if there's any reason you're going to get behind like the vendetta, it's going to be somebody who like got their dog killed. It's like, if you kill, like, that's just downright un-American, So anyhow, yeah. But anyhow, he was pardoned per loss of dog. Exactly. That's why like people were like, okay, he should go hard. He should go extremely hard on these people because they killed his dog. It's the bet, and that's that kind of typical plot where it's like, I thought I was in retirement, but I was going to retire from the killing people game, but they brought me back in by killing my dog. And, like it's something people can rally behind. But anyhow, my point is, actually, I was going to get over the whole political dog thing, but it was funny that it tied into John Wick. And I'm like, yeah, that is crazy that you like in this day and age, you would make that political calculation that's a good idea to write about in your book. Basically admitting to being one of the villains from John Wick. Like, you're one of the bad guys that America roots to see taken out. And like the second you go into that territory in an autobiography, but whatever. What do I know? anyhow, so but that plot was really fun, and then there were like a million versions of it, but now it's like it feels like every other movie is that plot where it's like, I thought I was out of retirement. I forget the thing that just came out on Amazon. Oh, Roadhouse. Roadhouse was like a remake of that cheesy 80s movie Roadhouse. Um and it's basically the same plot where it's like this guy who was this brutal MMA fighter or brutal fighter, and he retired, and then he basically is just going to like these different like cage matches and stuff to make a living, because he retired because he's like afraid of what happens when he gets angry. He doesn't like who he becomes. And so then he, moves to a little town and off of the Keys, and, decides to bounce for a club that's constantly being attacked by bikers. And then they finally cross the line to where he's like, I was trying to retire. I was trying to keep the monster at bay, but you've awoken the monster. It's like, it's the plot of every action film now, where it's like, man, I was this tough, hardened guy, and now you woke up the tough, hardened guy. Cross the line. Now it's time. Anyhow, I just think that's a plot that's a little overdone right now. It's like the Substitute movie thing. There was that whole teacher movie thing years ago where everybody and their mom was like, what we need is a movie about a teacher who's a badass, who's going to take crime on in the classroom or whatever. And there was like this whole, it was like Dangerous Minds, and there was just like a million movies that came out around that time, because people just couldn't get enough of like, kindergarten cop type movies. It's the new kindergarten cop is the killer in retirement who they cross the line of, and now they're gonna regret it because they just awakened the killer. Which I can understand why that's a trending plot, because it is easy to get behind a character that's out for vengeance. Like, it's easy to like want to see vengeance play out. So there's that's a pretty good device for an action plot, where it's like, okay, you watch this horrible thing happen, right? To somebody who's like not even fighting, like they don't even want to fight anymore. They're done fighting. They're out. And then you see this horrible thing play out. That's just beyond reproach. It's just a horrible, awful thing. And then you want to see vengeance with the character. And then you proceed to watch vengeance play out on the screen, and kind of root for these people to get theirs. It's an easy plot, I can see why people use that device. Pepsi said, I'm so over the rough guy who meets a person who helps them be more personable. They're always white, short brown hair, short on the sides with a little volume on top, and scruffy until fixed. Yeah, they always have like half a beard too. They never have a full beard. It's always like a scraggly, like, I shave with an ice pick, but I'm a nice guy at heart, Well, I use a chisel to chisel my chin.
I just look at my beard and it falls
Yeah,
off.
I have to glare really hard at each hair on my chin to make it get shorter. My scruffy facial hair stays maintained from my evil stares. I do like the idea at some point, though. There is a point in time where I'm going to have to do an action comic. Like right now I do a lot of slice of life stuff, but at some point I'm going to have to take on an action comic. I'm not sure when. I do think I loved the Victorian bit that came out during these streams where, I was going to do a version of this story that's just like Victorian England, but it's like Miami Vice, but like, fakely Victorian. So it's like, there's still like Sea-Doos and Uzis and stuff like that, but they're all very Victorian looking, and you have like Victorian gentlemen, but it's all very much just pretty much Miami Vice in Victorian England. And all of the captions are kind of nonsensical. where again it'll be like, you know, a Sea-Doo riding, like somebody on a jet ski with an Uzi, you know, but they have a monocle and it'll be like Victorian England 1852 or something like in the sub caption. It's got to happen. I actually do like that idea for a comic. I think it would be hilarious. Pepsi was saying, no shaving cream or water for a man. Yeah. I mean, I can't talk too much because I have a nice beard, you know, a nice manly beard. But I keep my beard fairly maintained, you know. And I also want to say, I don't like getting scraggly. Getting scraggly is annoying. I just am cursed with hair that just is not going to stop. Like, it's annoying. So part of this beard is me just admitting defeat, you know, in a hair battle that's gone on for years. I finally tapped out. I finally was like, you know what? We're doing detente hair. We're doing detente because I've lost this Cold War. I've lost the Cold War of hair. Like we had a back and forth, you know, like it would get all scraggly. I'd take a razor to it. This happened for years. And by, you know, 1 p.m., it would be all scraggly again. Finally, I was like, okay, we're going to meet halfway. We're going to meet halfway. I'll stop shaving if you stop growing. Yeah, we have people working on the front lawn. So there will be some barking. All right. We're going to just get this working just a little bit better. Man, the dogs are doing a really good job, though, of letting the person who's mowing our lawn know. They know. They're like, I know what you're doing. I know it's in our yard, and it's not acceptable. That's what they're saying right now.
Look how fierce this guy is.
Yeah, this is our fierce guard dog here. He'll take you out. Pepsi said, my facial hair grows fast, yet once long, it irritates my skin. Body isn't doing it right. No, okay, that is a phase that you just kind of have to get over. Like, so mine would be really itchy, especially when I was first growing out my beard. It was like super itchy and annoying. And there's like this stage where it's going to be itchy and annoying for about 3 months. And then it finally grows past that. And because of that, I think this is why guys like me who grow beards rarely get rid of them, because it's like, if I get rid of it and decide, you know what, actually I liked having a beard, I have to go through that whole annoyance of the itching and the growing out stage all over again. And I don't ever want to have to do that again. So it's better to just kind of keep it maintained and call it a, you know, like, now we're at a nice even path where it's a winnable war, whereas before it was just a fight that I was losing every day. I actually would love to illustrate that, like a fist fight with a beard, where you're like, get away, hair, and the beard's like, screw you, you're going to be bearded. And you just have to have this crazy back and forth battle with the hair. And that's the life of a man, is a wild hair battle. Hair bands were trying to personify this in their music, you know. I am pretty happy with this so far. I like this. I like how this is coming out. Pepsi said, is this why there's an epidemic? All the beard pain? I could see that. All right, I'm going to play a trailer because we're at the 2-hour mark. And then we're going to come back and hopefully finish this page. So here is... let's do the Christmas trailer for 2 stories. Got more dogs barking in the background. I know that's an audio joy to have. I'm going to continue to do this and work on it, and we'll see how far we can get. I will say, at the beginning of this, I was saying, this page will take no time at all. Tease me about that in 3 hours. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting to teasing territory. Nothing lasts forever in the cold November rain. You know what I'm saying? All right. So we've got... This is going to be catching quite a bit of light, actually. But I want to give it a little bit of volume. And just a little bit of depth, just to kind of show what's going on here. What's going on here? Okay. That's an arm. That looks like an arm to me. It's an Armageddon, you guys. Ooh, yeah. I'm here all day. All right. So, by the way, if you're watching this and you've been enjoying it, hit that like button. That's the easiest thing you can do right now. It takes 2 seconds, helps a lot. It's absolutely free. No charge to you whatsoever. And it helps me out. So hit that like button. I'm talking to you who's casually listening and you're like, no, I'm just listening. No, hit the like button. Makes a difference. Okay. Now what we are going to be doing is getting this arm finished. Right? It's Armageddon time right now. Armageddon time. And then from there, we're going to kind of work on this character who will go way smoother. Because again, this is a little more of a simple pose than Elizabeth's. Although she is going to have like underlighting under her face, which might be a little complicated. Pepsi said a beard with a top hat and dad jokes would be a fun supervillain. Maybe it has a cigar and accidentally lights itself on fire every now and then. That's good. I kind of like that. I haven't had a cigar in years. I had a cigar stage in my late 20s where I was really into cigars. And I still do every once in a while. Like, I think the last good cigar I had was at a friend's wedding. It's one of those friends with like the dad who has tons of money and they open up the cigar briefcase, and it's like that fancy briefcase that goes tss when it opens because it's like a humidifier case, like to preserve their like cigars that cost as much as the guitar I just bought. And it's like, yeah, so that was fun. I remember the last time I had a cigar, it was one of those moments where it was a cigar dad of a friend who hooked me up with like a Cuban, and it was like delicious. It was an amazing cigar. So it's not something I wouldn't have, but I just don't pursue it. I don't buy cigars. But I will say, like a nice evening with like a good cigar and a glass of really good whiskey. Ooh, a good cigar and a good glass of whiskey sounds amazing. Pepsi said, I only imagine vintage gamblers and suits who play pool from the 40s. Interesting. Nice. With cigars is what you're saying? Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's like a rich guy's thing, which is why I haven't really delved into it too much. But I will say, if I was on vacation somewhere and had a nice glass of whiskey and somebody offered me a good cigar, I would probably have it. They're pretty lovely, and they smell great, which is bizarre. A lot of people can't stand the smell of cigars. I think they smell fantastic. I think cigarettes, since quitting cigarettes, man, do those smell bad. Like my wife and I, when we were first dating, I was a avid smoker, and I still do vape nicotine, which is not a good habit, but it is so much better in comparison to smoking. What I think I was at the point of smoking about a pack a day, or maybe 2 packs a day, a lot. And now that I have because once you cut out cigarettes, your sense of smell kind of comes back. And it's like, now if I walk by somebody smoking like a cigarette, it does not smell good. It smells like awful, like disgusting. And I'm like, how did people put up with that for so long with me? I don't know. Because it would also linger. And so it'd be on like my clothes and on everything, And I couldn't smell it at the time. Or if I did, it just didn't smell as bad as other people probably knew it did. But with cigars or like pipe tobacco, like if I smell that, like if I smell like an old man smoking a pipe or something like that, to me, even now, it doesn't smell bad. It smells wonderful. Like it's a great, just like, I don't know, like almost like the being by a campfire and smelling that like campfire smell. It's really, really nice. I don't know. I mean, I think with like a cheap cigar, that would be a problem, but anyhow, that's my thoughts on cigars for all of you who didn't ask. I just thought I'd rant about that for about 2 hours. But I will say, man, yeah, like if you ever have the opportunity, if you're of age and don't have an issue with it, I wouldn't think that would be the most evil thing in the world to like rock a cigar. Okay, a lot of the guys I know that got really into cigars, a lot of them have like weird like military backgrounds. So I don't know if there's like a cigar thing in the military, but there's definitely a connection there. Like a lot of my friends. Even friends who had the parents who had like the cigar case or whatever, they had some like military history. So I don't know if that's like a military thing or I don't know. Might just be like a whiskey thing too, because it goes so well with whiskey. Because whiskey's like a smoky kind of flavor, and so that with like a really nice smoke of tobacco is just. Why am I talking about this? It sounds like I'm advertising these things. Nicotine is awful, though. I will tell you guys that it's horrible and it's very addictive. And I would say it's probably the stupidest decision I made in my life was smoking when I was younger.
Grandpa smoked cigars and had a bleeding machine when he was younger.
But yeah, so Pepsi said it comes with the Tough Man starter kit. I think what got me into it wasn't the tough guy thing. I think it was just I was in the music scene and I liked it. I enjoyed it. So I think initially it was like a rebellious thing, but because it was like sticking it to the man kind of thing, which is hilarious now because it's like that's not rebellion. It's literally handing a giant corporation a bunch of money, and not just that, like power over you, like But then it became like I think because when I started is when a lot of people come up with their methods of like stress management and stuff like that. Is it already 5?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. That's wild. But anyhow, it's one of those things of yeah, it's definitely one of the dumbest decisions I made my whole life that I still pay for to this day because again, I'm still somewhat hooked on nicotine from that. So that's a battle at some point I'd like to take on. But anyhow, so like a lot of my emotional processing was around that time. So that's how I deal with like stress or like, if something really terrible happened or if I needed to just like clear my head. or if I needed to be creative, or if I needed to wake up. It's like all of these things that it took the place of. And so when that, when that gets like embedded in your brain, it's really hard to like kick that. And that's no excuse. It's just like, that's just how it works. It like starts as something you enjoy, and then it becomes something you have to be normal. And that's not anything like that in life. Is probably not healthy. Art is like that though. So I don't know, maybe art isn't healthy. Cuz I'm like, I do have to create. I do have to create to be healthy and to feel normal. But there's good addictions and bad addictions, right? Like exercise. Like exercise can be a really healthy addiction. There are some guys I know though that like way overdo it on the exercise stuff. And it becomes a detriment to their health because they just get so into it. Like bodybuilders are a good example. Like those guys are not actually healthy. Like they're kind of hurting themselves to get that look, and so that's where it like crosses that threshold. It's interesting to me that as human beings, we're drawn to things that are initially can be healthy, and then we kind of exploit it and abuse it and make it bad. And it feels like that's kind of the way humans are. Like we're going to take things that initially could be really good, and then just destroy them. I don't know. So welcome to my optimistic live stream where I'm talking about human beings destroying everything. That's good. How are you guys doing? I'm just joking because like it got dark all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, and that's why everybody sucks. And then it's like quiet. There's crickets. There's, anyhow, so we're going to get into drawing this page of a fun, rad seance scene. Okay? A rad seance scene. Pepsi said, chocolate is my vice. Literally, it's just too excellent. Even cheap quality, I sink for chocolate. And Pepsi also said, it's fine. Life is light and dark reality. Yeah, 100%. Well, and actually, that's something that keeps me humble because I know that there's some people with different proclivities that just, like I'm somebody like I think maybe a month or two ago, I bought like some beer, and then for like 3 months, it just sat in my fridge, and I'd have a beer every once in a while. It was like maybe a 6-pack. It lasted for like 3 months. There's some people who can do that, and then there's some people who get that 6-pack and within a day, they've blasted through it and they get a 6-pack the next day. And that 6-pack becomes a 24-pack, and that just becomes their life. Like, and then they become alcoholics, and I know that happens to some people, and I know how it happens because it happened to me with cigarettes. And so that makes me a little more forgiving of people making mistakes, because I'm a pretty responsible person in general, but like there's, I've definitely had flaws in my life where, had I had like other proclivities or something, I might be in like a much worse shape, and so it's, I don't know. I guess it's humbling and good to realize that can be anyone. Pepsi said, I'm reading the classical Japanese novel, The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu, widely considered the first written novel. Nice. I have never read that. What is it about? That actually sounds like a really interesting book. So it's the first written novel? Like, how old is it? That's got to be pretty old. I'm trying to think of like, is the Odyssey considered a novel? I don't know. Now I'm wondering if the Odyssey is considered a novel because that's a pretty old story. Does it predate the Odyssey? I'm just curious now. I have like all sorts of curiosity about that. I want to Google it, man, and I can't because I'm drawing. I'm drawing the drawings. He said it's about how Pepsi will rise as the supreme soda of the people. Nice. I gotta say I am not a Pepsi guy when it comes to a soda. I like wild cherry Pepsi a lot. I think that is the superior cherry soda of like the two in the Pepsi versus Coke debate. But when it comes to just a cold cola, I am always doing a cola. I just realized I need to make sure I say Coca-Cola. Because yeah, that could sound really bad. But yeah, I also grew up, my dad was a collector of vintage Coca-Cola stuff. Not like the stuff that's like the, oh, it's a cute Coca-Cola thing at like the Target or whatever, but like the legit like old advertisements and stuff. The vintage mirrors. We had I think a 10-cent Coke machine that my dad had bought at a I don't know. I don't even know if he bought it. I think like some client had like paid him with it. And my dad was like, yeah, I'll take that as payment. But it was like a 10-cent Coke machine that was functional. And like the old Coca-Cola lamps that they have at like the Coke Plaza in Disneyland, stuff like that. My dad was like obsessed with it. I think because as a graphic designer, he was like really into just the look of that Victorian era stuff. Which, I wonder why I'm doing a graphic novel taking place in the Victorian era. Like, where would any of that interest have come from, Anyhow. Just saying. Pepsi said release date was before 1021. Nice. Earlier 12th century. Interesting. And he said, in the story, the beloved concubine of the emperor gives birth to Genji. Interesting. Wonder if my wife has heard of this book.
Nope.
She has not. She's saying she hasn't read a lot of Japanese novels. Yeah. That's interesting, though. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty fascinating story. Wild and fascinating story there, guy. I don't know why I said guy. I was just realizing that is one of the funniest ways to refer to somebody. Is, yeah, that's interesting, guy. Like, fella? Wow, great story there, fella. Anyhow. Oh, and Pepsi said the Odyssey was published in 1614. But I thought the Odyssey like predated, like I thought the Odyssey was like from like way back when and wasn't widely circulated. And then that's when it was translated. But maybe I'm crazy. I feel like the Iliad and the Odyssey like are like really old, aren't they? I thought they were like maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like they almost like predate the Bible. Am I that crazy, or maybe not? Or maybe I'm thinking like, well, there's the Epic of Gilgamesh too, and that's an old one. But that's an epic. I don't know if that's a novel. I'm just going to trust what you're saying. My wife was saying, why don't you just trust what he's saying? And I'm like, I am going to trust it. I just also am curious because I'm like, I felt like the Odyssey was like I felt like it was before the medieval era. Wasn't it? Like, I thought Homer was like was like an old Greek dude or something. Pepsi was saying, "Don't trust me, trust no one." I agree with you, Pepsi. I am not a trusting person. I don't trust anyone. That might actually be a weakness of mine, but I poke holes in anything. All right, let's see here. But I am really curious about this book because it sounds really cool. Yeah, I guess you're right. That's like more of a poem, right? The Epic of Gilgamesh, the Iliad, like these are poems. I think even the Odyssey might be considered a poem. So that's actually a good point. What about Jurassic Park though? That's the oldest novel known to man. I'm just kidding. That would be funny. If somebody thought that like Michael Crichton was like the first novelist. You guys, before Congo was published in 1970, whatever. Before the Andromeda Strain, they really hadn't mastered the art of the novel. Jurassic Park was the sequel to the Odyssey. Of course. I will say there's somebody out there that would believe that. There's somebody out there, you know, that would believe that Jurassic Park was the sequel to the Odyssey. I should just test that out when I meet new people. See if anyone believes it. You know? I mean, there are people out there who think it's a smart idea when running for a political office to publish a novel that's an autobiographical story detailing exactly how they shot their dog and think that that's a great idea. So there's got to be people out there who would think Jurassic Park is the sequel to the Odyssey. It just logically follows. You know what I mean? Corey said 1614 is when it was published in English. The Odyssey was originally, yeah, thank you, in Homeric Greek in around the 8th or 7th century BC. By the mid 6th century BC, it had become a part of the Greek literary canon. Thank you. I knew it predated that because I think that's when it was in English, but I feel like the Odyssey is like one of the early books. Have you guys ever read the Decameron? That's a great one too for like ancient books. That's like one of the oldest comedies. I like that one. It's funny to me because like there are kind of smarmy people out there sometimes who will pretend that like, you know, the literary canon is above fart jokes and and like sex scenes and like all these horrible things that are in a modern world. And it's like, no, you read the Decameron, it's fart jokes, it's sex scenes, it's all the stuff. All the stuff. Anyhow, just saying. I don't know what relevance that has other than justifying the validity of fart jokes, which are incredible. Okay. How's it going, Mr. Kerr? I hope well. Herodotus is 484 BC, largely known as the father of history, so the Odyssey is sort of prehistorical. True. So are you saying technically you could make the argument that the Odyssey has dinosaurs. Is that where you're going with this? Right? Out of curiosity, has anybody ever retold the story of Oedipus with a T-Rex? That has to have happened, right? If that hasn't happened, somebody needs to make an epic dinosaur story with Oedipus T-Rex. No? No? I'm here all night, guys, with these wild jokes. Pepsi said someone must now. It'll be like the Land Before Time, you know? Except Oedipus T-Rex. We'll have to do some things that may not work out so well in a kid's cartoon. But if you do it convincingly enough, it could be a really compelling, moving story. I love that Corey's following my absolute non-logic here, where he's like, yep, dinosaurs are also prehistorical, ipso facto Oedipus T-Rex. Exactly. It all makes sense. It all follows. Corey said, I like the idea of trash talk being part of human communication since whenever. Yeah, it is. It really has been. I want her to kind of recede into the shadows too, because I want to really make this room more dim. Make the light, the dark and the light. The darkness and the light. I don't know why I'm talking like that all of a sudden. All right, guys. We're getting there. We're going to finish this panel. How about that? How's that sound? Does that sound on the level of Oedipus T-Rex kind of excitement? With twists and plot turns. A page that started as nothing becoming something. Isn't this exciting? Okay, let's see here. Let's merge these layers. Merge visible. Visible. I don't like that being so dark because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a light hitting here. I want this to have a little bit more light. Definitely want to redo this part a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can make that work. Corey said, measuring time one panel at a time. Prehistoric Josh from the days of yore. I like... Pepsi also said, I do find it comforting that there's people upset within their own generation and every generation documented. Complainers and rebels unite. Yeah, it's one of those things where you like to think that there was this philosophical ideal, and like people, when Plato was starting to talk about like contentious ideas and Socrates was starting to like question authority and stuff, that like Greeks were just sitting around philosophizing and enjoying these questions. And it's easy to forget that they were also wanting to murder every single person who'd ask any questions at all. And they're like, hey, why are you questioning things? So let's kill them. Like, it's just, that's kind of the nature of history. What's up? Yeah, maybe the crazy lady's right. Oh, you're talking about the dog killing politician? Yeah, maybe she's the right one and we're all wrong, right? She's hip to the ethics of shooting dogs. Okay. She knows what's going on. She sees behind the matrix. I will say that though, man, if I hear one more like hustler scam artist use the term matrix to like sell some stupid idea, I'm so over it. Like, that was an interesting movie a long time ago, and the red pill idea was not a new one. It wasn't like the Matrix invented the idea of like there is a reality you're not seeing. I mean, even the idea of it was kind of like a riff on Alice in Wonderland in the original movie. So people doing this stupid Matrix thing, just, I'm so tired of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm done with it. I'm heated about it. Don't make Matrix analogies, okay? If you're out there, just don't say we're in the Matrix. That's right. I'm fired up. Corey said, human progress is driven by discontent. Well said, Corey. And greed, said Pepsi. Oh, and the greed part is accurate. It makes me sad, Corey said. I agree. All right, guys. Here's what we're going to do. Oh, my goodness. We're going to finish this page. Well, we're going to finish this panel. I'm going to see it through, and then that last panel should go super quick. Super duper quick. Super duper quick. Jim was saying Matrix are for kids. I don't know. Like, I've gotten so tired of hearing that, where people are like, you're just part of the Matrix because you got your, and it's like, come on, stop using the term Matrix. For like the thing that's the most annoying about it is, it's like all the people who use the term the Matrix to describe like a horrible system are actually creating a Matrix, much like all the people who call things Orwellian are committing Orwellian acts usually. And they're like, wow, that's wildly, it's like 1984. That's like George Orwell. That's Orwellian. And it's like, stop using the term Orwellian when you're actually being Orwellian. Like, that's one of the most annoying parts about it, is like, they're creating an alternate reality. Therefore, you should believe in the alternate reality that I'm creating. And it's like, no, wait, that's weird, It's just annoying is all. And it makes me really aware of the fact that I don't think it means what they think it means. That's what I'm saying. Corey was saying, I hate misogynists and racists running everything. The Matrix is rad. Norse mitosis is dope. Quit ruining everything. Not mitosis. Mitosis? Mitosis? Mitoses? Isn't mitosis like doesn't that have to do with like plant cells? Isn't that what my mitochondria do? Am I crazy? Oh, is mitosis non-plant related? Or is that mitosis? Oh my goodness. You can tell I was like an ace science student, you guys. I was like an expert scientist guy. Like all of my science classes, all of my science teachers were just like, this kid. It was like the rock and roll movie, you know, where it's like, wow, this band is playing something wildly new, and they're a bunch of punks. You know what? We should call it punk rock. It's like that kind of moment in a movie, but in my science classes, it was like, I never thought of science from that angle. We need to submit his ideas to the journals of science for evaluation because they're so scientifically I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm bad at science, okay? That's my point. My point is I suck at science. You're living in the Matrix. The Matrix. Mythology, he said. How did it correct? How does autocorrect see mitosis instead of mythology? Corey, doesn't autocorrect usually go to words you use frequently? Like, are you constantly getting in conversations about I could actually see that, Corey, where your autocorrect is like, what words does Corey use frequently? And one of the words is mitosis. Oh, I don't know how autocorrect would think mitosis from mythology. That's amazing. That's like that's a wild one. That's wild, just wild. Anyhow, Pepsi said the fact that they tried forcing us to dissect frogs and cats in my high school science course still leaves me in medieval disbelief. And then Jim said the Matrix. The Matrix. I live in the Matrix, you know? That's the world built around my wife. Corey said, I'm not a smart man, Jenny. I like the Matrix. That's a great one. Okay. We're doing just banger jokes here. Someday, people are going to realize our comedic genius. They're going to hire me and Jim and Corey and Scott. They're going to hire all of us to riff and write comedy gold. We got comedy gold here. You want gold? We got gold. There's gold in these hills. I think I like the idea of just over abusing the comedy gold analogy. Just being like, you might as well call yourself a prospector because we're the hills full of gold, all right? I can't because I'm finishing this up. I do. How soon? Like, when do you gotta go, hun?
5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's see here. We have almost finished this page. Almost. It's a page worth finishing. Do you think people from Finland get annoyed with people talking about finishing things? Like it's a pet peeve. I mean, if you think about it, that would be a weird thing. Is that funny at all? I don't know. To me, that's funny. The idea of somebody who's Finnish getting really annoyed by people being like, yep, I'm almost to the finish. And it's like, oh, come on. Stop using that word. Oh, that's the worst joke ever. And if you're from Finland, like, do people just make...
They go up to them and they go, you're Finnish!
Yeah, exactly. Do people who are finished like get really annoyed if they're like competing in a sport and it's like they're almost to the finish line? It looks like they're finished. That's like, stop making those jokes, man. There's like Finnish fishermen, and they're working, and all their buddies are like, "Wow, that's a great fish you caught. It's got really nice fins. You know, I'd say it's almost Finnish." And it's like, come on, guys, I've heard it a million times. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. I like the idea of a Finnish person getting really annoyed by any statement having to do with finishing things. They're at like the workplace. It's like, well, somebody's got to finish it. And then they all look at him and he's like, oh, come on. It's got to happen. If you are listening to this and you're Finnish, I apologize. I'm not trying to be insensitive to the kind folks from Finland. To all my Finnish brothers and sisters out there, I apologize if my jokes came at the expense of your place of origin. And I will say I am finished with the jokes. Okay. Now I wonder if the origin of Finnish had anything to do with like, or the word Finnish, not the like, you know, if you're from Finland. But now I'm wondering if it had anything to do with Finns. You know, like do those have a similar root? Like, is Finnish having something to do with fishing? You know, like does the origin come from fishing, or maybe the term Finn was based on a finish of something? I don't know. Now I'm really curious about that. This is how my brain works, guys. I'll just be sitting around thinking it'd be funny if somebody from Finland was offended by people saying the word Finnish. And then I start thinking, what about the word Finnish? And it just goes into wild territories, guys. Yeah, Corey was saying they're too busy living in excellent health due to sauna use to be offended. They're too busy living forever in excellent health. Did you write excrement health? Corey, your autocorrect is out of control, my dude. Excrement health. You've been in excrement health. That's actually a great autocorrect. That's a bad, actually, that could be a real dangerous autocorrect there, Corey, where it's like, what did you think of my, like, you're giving feedback on Gary's script. He's like, what did you think of my script? You're like, it was an excrement script. It's like, wow, I never thought somebody would call it excrement. That's awful. Or your wife like messages you a picture of like a new dress. How do I look in the dress? You're like, oh, you look excrement. And it's like, oh man, that's brutal. Oh. Corey said that tracks with my conversations way more than mitosis. Jim said originally Finland was an amusement park called Dolphin Land. They shortened it because of a lawsuit. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, with that, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna merge these. I'm gonna go ahead and save what I got, and then I'm gonna finish this page. No offense to my Finnish friends. Okay, so let's play a trailer. This one's going to be another Luhan masterpiece. This one's called Wordzoid. I'll be right back.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm going to have to go with Karen Carpenter. Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won.
Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
You know, my coffee tastes great in this amazing mug that I got from Gary Hodges. Dinosaurs versus Marsbots mugs. They make your coffee taste that much better. You should check them out. All right. So we have one panel left. And then it won't be that far from Artcasters, guys. And I am guessing that I will probably be doing the colors for this while we're having a conversation on Artcasters. And I think it'll be a good conversation. And then I think that the next week, I think we have Richard Fairgray coming back on Scott's channel as a guest. Who's going to talk about his 20 billionth graphic novel, because the guy is insanely prolific. But he's always a really wild and interesting guest, and just a really thoughtful, creative, and powerful artist. So that should be a really fun conversation. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I want to put a little bit of shadow here so that it's underlit a little bit more. Like she's going to be kind of underlit a little more like horror movie style. Just when I thought I was done. And let's get this a little more here. And then maybe this is casting more of a shadow over everything. The darkness. Okay, there we go. I actually think that works. I think that works. Kind of works, yep. Yeah, I'm liking that quite a bit more. I don't like how harsh this is here. It's just too much. Too dark. And I was almost done, but like it's just little things that were kind of bugging me a little bit too much about that. Kind of don't mind it getting a little dark, but I don't want it to be wildly dark. Okay. So now we're going to continue this, what we got going on here. We're getting there, guys. And we're going to go ahead and finish the this part and see what happens, you know? But I don't think this section is going to take quite as long. But I'm excited about Artcasters. This is going to be a fun one tonight. Nice conversation with Scott and hopefully Jim and Corey, shooting the breeze, catching up on things. Probably talking about the importance of art made by humans. I'm guessing that might be a part of it. It might be the episode where we do the big reveal that all of us, Scott, Corey, and myself, and Jim, are all AI characters. That we're all actually just algorithms. I don't know if we're doing that reveal yet, though. And that you guys are all part of the Matrix. I just did that rant against the Matrix thing, and then it's like that ends up being it. It's like you guys are actually all in the Matrix. All right. We're getting there, guys. Getting there. All right. Getting this a little more worked out. Shading is super fun. It's like I haven't done art that was like shaded like this in a long time. And it's not beyond the capacity of like most of us as artists, but it's like I just, I've been working in ink for so many years before this, and in like cartoony styles and stuff. So it's been fun to have this as an element where I can do, a little bit of rendering, not like wild rendering, but like passable rendering. It's been fun because it's like this part feels so fun. Like it's just real fun to do. Because you're giving volume. It's almost like sculpting, and that's very fun to do. All right. That'll be the boy. Our son is back from his grandma's where he was playing. Oh, nice. Jim said, I won't be on tonight, but as consolation, I'll give you both $10,000 cash. I will happily take $10,000 cash, my friend. Okay. So we've got... What do we got? Jim was saying, you've seen my net worth on the internet. Yeah, Jim's like literally, if you ever go to a bar with Jim, He's just tipping hundreds, you know. He's like, bartender, I'd like a glass of water. And they're like, okay, but that's free here. And he's like, thanks. And he hands him $100. And they're like, okay, I guess I'll take that tip. Thank you. And then they come back by. Is there anything else I can get you? And he's like, ice me up. He gives them another 100. And they're like, all right. So they bring ice for his glass. And he's like, thanks. It's another $100. Darn it. I did that on the wrong layer. I thought I was making progress and I did it on the wrong layer. We got to redo some of that lovely rendering. Oh, maybe I didn't. I thought I had done it on the wrong layer. I didn't. Haha. Okay, we're still in good spaces. The dogs are very excited. Was that white? Okay. I think we're good. Okay, and this is going to get real dark here. And I think we'll just... Now we're going to do this. And now we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Almost. Not quite, but almost. This will be the hair. And then I like the idea of the hair being kind of mildly in there. And I think like the fun thing about working on art is like this whole thing is just fun to do. I don't know. It's an enjoyable thing. I've been really enjoying the process. I find that strange because for years I didn't. I just would trudge through it because I like the result. But I'm starting to get more and more in that zone of like, I really just like the process of like working on something, trying to make a pretty picture, you know? I don't know. There's something really meditative. You guys tell me. I don't know. Something with meditation in there. But there is something neat about art and making art. And it is one of the saddest things about the AI thing is that people will miss out on the rewarding nature of what art does for them. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, there's a thing in ethics that's like that too, where, you know, what was the guy, Raskolnikov or whatever in Crime and Punishment, who like kills someone trying to be above morality? And the thing that was about was the idea that like it's not just society that's hurt from an act like that. It's actually the person who does it who does a horrible act harms themselves, harms themselves irreparably. And so it's not even about the results as much as it is about, like, it's not just a crime on the victim when somebody commits a crime like that. It's a crime on the person committing the crime, because it's like you're irreparably scarring yourself, right? And I think it's like that with art. I think, like, if you do the path and you make the art, it's like you get this really cool kind of experience from it, a very transcendent experience. And I think people really miss that when they when they're prompting AI or whatever, so it's like, I don't even know if, like, that in that case, it's not even about the harm done on the client or the harm done on society or the harm done on the artists, but the person themselves, like, not getting that great experience of art making, I didn't know I couldn't say meditative until this live stream. I didn't even know that was a thing that I had struggles with. Okay.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Do you have one of those plugs that takes, like, one of these?
Oh,
here. Can I steal this?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. She needed an adapter. An adapter for your chapter. All right, so we are almost there. The hair is almost done. Jim was saying, I speak dog and your dog is yelling RFK, RFK. He's a big he's a big old, like, kind of weird left-leaning libertarian dude, anti-vaxxer dude. I can see that. It depends. Bernie, our dog Bernie, I think would be a bleeding heart liberal for sure, because he's Bernie. I mean, his name's Bernie. But our other dog Scotch, I could definitely see that. I could see him being a big RFK guy, where he's like, yeah, I like RFK. Pepsi said, we all have missed things. Math is my nemesis in general. Math is probably easily the thing I am worst at. Like, I have a pretty passing, acceptable knowledge of history. I know history well enough to, when somebody makes a wild historical claim that's wrong, my cockles go up. I'm like, nope, not it. Something's wrong with that. I don't know it well enough to, like, recite it entirely, but I know it well enough to know to be skeptical if I hear something that's, like, way off track, right? And I have a rough idea of when things happened, that kind of thing. Not a perfect idea, but enough. But with English, I have a passing, appreciation and understanding of literature and stuff like that. Science is just super interesting to me. I'm awful at it, but it's super interesting to me. And the older I get, the more accessible and interesting it is. Math is definitely the one where it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I've tried. I am just awful at it. It's hard for me to get interested in. It's just my brain, when I hear math stuff, just starts kind of like, it is one of the few things that, like, logically, just my rational side turns off, and my metaphorical fingers go into my ears, and I just, in my brain, am going la 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 la. I have no idea. I have no interest in math. I admire the hell out of people who do have interest in it, because I know that a lot of really interesting science comes from math. I know that a lot of amazing philosophy comes from math. I know that a lot of great things, like, math sends astronauts to the moon, like that's amazing. Math can save lives, right? But I also I don't math. I don't math at all. Pepsi was saying, I wonder how highly political people rate their pets. Yeah, because I think Bernie would be. He's just a very sweet dog who cares about other people. I think Scotch might be a bit of a. Our little Chihuahua might be a bit of an ANCAP. That's my guess. I think he might be an ANCAP. I think our Chihuahua reads a lot of Ayn Rand. he's an objectivist. That's what I think. How about your pets? What are your pets' political viewpoints? You guys want to share? I'd love to hear what your pet political philosophies would be if you had to rate them. Think about it. Let me know. If you're watching this after the fact, let me know in the comments section. What is your pet's politics? Do you talk politics with your pet, or do you feel like it's better to just avoid the subject because you'll end up in arguments? How do you navigate discussions of religion and politics with your pets? Okay. I think I just snorted while I was laughing. That was pretty funny. Okay. We're going to finish Elizabeth here. We're almost there, guys. We're very close. However, we did hit the 3-hour mark, so you are free to tease me. Because at the beginning of this, I was saying, I don't think this is going to take that long, but you can make fun of me 3 hours from now if it takes 3 hours. I don't think it's going to take 3 hours. But 3 hours from now, if this takes like 3 hours, you can give me a hard time. Well, guess what? It's been 3 hours. We're still working on it. So teasing may commence is all I'm saying. Did you get him an auto clicker thing?
Yeah, it was $8.
It's like a spam clicker?
Yeah.
That's so cute. I'm glad he was able to get one.
Well, otherwise today we would have been trying to build him one.
So my son gets these like fascinations, and the other day he really wanted a spam clicker, like a machine that would spam click a video game for him. Like it would click, 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 click. And I guess he was trying to like see if he could make an electric toothbrush do it and all of these things. And so finally my wife just bought him one for like $8 on Amazon. We didn't even know those things existed, but he just got the idea in his head that it would be cool. And with my kid, he's a lot like me, where when he gets an idea in his head, it's really hard for him to like not obsess about whatever that idea is. And it's not just like commercial products or something. It's just an idea of something fascinating to him, just like lures him and hooks him in. And that was the new kind of thing that was really fascinating to him. So he wanted to build one, but it's like we're, both on a deadline. So it's like neither of us have time to try to make a clicking machine for our kid when we have to be making books. So Pepsi said it's a neat thing to ask for and exist. Yeah, it is interesting. Like I think that's the thing, is like anytime he gets interested in stuff, like Maya and I are like, that actually is really cool. Like I can see why he's fascinated with it. And like he's a neat kid in that sense. Like he really does have like a creative soul, So it's fun to see that come out in him and try to encourage it, when we can. And if we can get him something that'll help him with that, we will do it. Okay, now we're doing this last part, and then it's just the sort of blackness of the background, which will be cool. Okay. So here I want her somewhat cast in shadow a little bit.
I'm sorry, I just want to find
That's cool. I like ramen. My wife ordered us ramen, which is awesome. Ramen is delicious. And I am glad that at least I'm going to have the shading done by the time we do Artcasters, so that I can get this done, and then tonight, pencil the next page so that I can kind of keep on this train of like kind of finishing one a day, because that's the goal right now. I do like the idea of this kind of going into darkness. Just some very barely visible details. And then see if we can get this going here. If you guys are kind of curious to check out some new rock and roll music, check out my name, Joshua Kemble, on all music streaming platforms. And check out They Don't Care About the Born, which is my new 10-song album. If you like indie comics and like supporting indie comics, check out Jacob's Apartment. It's a story about two young adult roommates that are polar opposites that because of a death in a family and a recent breakup, find themselves drawn together romantically. And as they are drawn together, dreams and reality start interweaving. And a story that's about first love, and it's a doomed romance, and it grapples with questions of loss and faith and identity. And it also, weaves together reality and dreams. And what's kind of like if you took Ghost World, you put it in a blender with Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, and you like that flavor, you would probably like Jacob's Apartment. So pick up Jacob's Apartment. It's available at bookstores everywhere. There's a link to it below. You can get it on Amazon or at a local bookstore. And if you've already gotten Jacob's Apartment, consider asking your local librarian to carry it. Also, there's two stories, which is my autobiographical graphic novel dealing with mental illness and trying to destigmatize conversations about mental illness by talking about my personal experience learning how to deal with depression, navigating being kind of a geek in school, and all sorts of other fun things. And it's all hand lettered, hand inked, a very personal story. And again, covers the topic of mental illness, which I think is important for people to talk about. And that's 2 stories. And you can get that everywhere, and you can get it on Amazon. These dogs are on overtime. They can tell. You can tell someone has done a delivery of food. There's a food delivery, and they know about it. Okay, couple things. I want to have this kind of blend more into the background. And then this needs to be almost black here. I'm going to blend this more into the background too. There we go. We have established that it's a very dark room lit simply by a candle. It's in a dark room with a candle. Actually, Maya is correct. There is a great children's book called The Dark, Dark Room. It's an excellent children's book. Okay, and we're just going to close this out in a second because I'm going to finish this last panel. So we're going to do the black area in between these 2 faces, and then this page will have been completed, which I'm actually pretty happy with. I like the atmosphere of the page. So let me go ahead and finish up by getting this filled in. This will be fairly easy. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that it goes behind this lettering. And we might have to make that lettering white. We'll see. So now we've got it kind of underlapping the line in a nice way. So I'm going to go back here, make a new layer. I don't know why I did the opposite of what I was supposed to do with that. So hold on. I held the wrong shortcut. This needs to actually be adding that, not subtracting it. Okay, there we go. Now we have our selections right. Now we're going to go and make a new layer and do our darkness. The darkness around. And it's just going to kind of start at the candle and proceed to get darker and darker and darker until blackness has filled its soul. Okay, so here we go. That's going to be very dark. Going to get super dark back here. And I don't think I was off on that guess about the type here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have this be copy this. And then I'm going to go, actually, we're going to delete it. Cut. And then we'll do edit, paste in place. And then I will lock it and we'll make it white. There we go. we are done with our shading, and now we are prepped and ready to color this on a different stream. So I might be working on coloring this during Artcasters. I'm going to call this SFX. So, okay, that's basically it. Thanks for hanging out with me and getting this page close to done. And I think it's working in black and white, which is great. So the color will just add to it. I don't think this is going to take as long to color, but you can quote me anytime I say that. Usually these things take a little longer. Ooh, one thing I got to fix real quick. That's not good. We need to get rid of that overlap going on there under the text bubble, because you don't want just stray grayscale muck behind your text or in your text balloon. So we'll get rid of some of that muck. Also needs to go all the way there. And we'll just continue. And now we are done with this page. So thanks to everybody. If you haven't yet, hit the bell so you get notifications when I'm about to go live. Make sure you're following Corey Kerr's channel, because that's where Artcasters will be tonight. And, if you want, leave a comment and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications, all that fun stuff. And make sure you support my work by picking up Jacob's Apartment or Two Stories, and also considering buying They Don't Care About the Born by Joshua Kemble. You can buy that on iTunes, you can buy it on Apple Music, you can buy it on Amazon, or you can stream it for free on Spotify and all those other platforms. All right, see you guys on the next live stream, and I will see you probably on Artcasters tonight. All right, have a good one. Bye.